doesn't make sense. But I remember the question. I thought it was a really good question. The deception comes through the buckets of funding. So the way that the public school finance system is set up, it's very difficult to follow. So they are pouring a lot of money into it every biennium with the legislature.
Okay, what's a biennium?
Sorry, I'm going to say that. I know I'm saying their terms. Every 2 years, they meet for the legislative session. And so every 2 years, they make these promises, and the promises are, we're gonna infuse all this money, and I think he used the term historic. Well, they used that term for House Bill 3 back in maybe the 86th session, years back. And they poured all this money in, but the money never makes its way to the teachers or the students. And some of that, you can blame the districts for some of that, because they do spend money on stupid things. And some districts are worse than others. But the basic funding for students has not gone up since before the pandemic. So the basic allotment that the schools get, just having the butts in the seats funding, has not been raised, has not gone up since before the pandemic. So the game is, we're going to give you this and we're going to give you that. Well, they don't give it to them without strings or some sort of unfunded mandates. So like they will tell them, you have to do this, but we're not going to fund it. But we're going to give you all this money so that you can tie teacher pay to test scores. It always has these strings that make the system worse. And they spend more money on vendors and contracts and public-private partnerships and nonprofit. They spend on those things that are baked into the bill. The money doesn't get its way, does not make its way to the teachers and the students. So when your local public, your ISDs are claiming poor mouth, it's true and false, because they are starved at the basic allotment level. So it's like, say it's $40 a child per day. That's why they take the attendance, and you have to be at school or they won't get that money for your child. They tied it to attendance. Well, the other buckets are things like the bond debt. So they are spending a lot of money on shiny buildings and shiny things that don't really change how we educate kids. So they're guilty of that. But in the end, the taxpayer gets screwed all directions. So we get screwed at the state level, we get screwed at the local level. So it's this big game that they play. So when they're pumping all this money in, the money has strings attached that don't benefit the locals. They actually just make the districts jump through more hoops. And the end result is a much more difficult climate for the teachers and the students, and things get worse every year. We don't solve anything.
Well, okay, go ahead, Julie.
Well, you can go first. Mine's more of a broader.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it's like, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, and maybe too, it's growing up in a small town. We didn't even have private schools in Plainview. I think there might have been one with like 10 kids in it. It was just not even an option. And if I don't know, it just feels strange to be like, yeah, here's, $10,000 to go to a private school. Right. And I feel like the backlash has been really strong to where what kind of control do we as voters have? I mean, this is how dumb I am.
No, they won't put it on the ballot. That's why you're confused, because you're like, well, where is it coming from? Now, it's been on the Republican primary ballot as a proposition, which that's not a law. It's just an opinion. Do you support the money following the child?
Got it.
So in the Republican Party, in the primary, I mean, maybe 12% vote. I mean, most registered voters don't even vote. But the ones who did said that 79% of those people said that they support it. Well, so then
so that's what he was talking about. Yeah.
Right. He's like, the Republicans support this. Well, okay, some Republicans do, but the bills don't match what was on the proposition. Because the proposition was like, parents should have the choice to,
school choice.
We have the choice. What they're talking about is money.